everybody coming. I appreciate that you were fans of my career, man, and have continued to support me throughout the years. It's meant so much to me in my life. I've said it before on one of the bio pages of my website that creating and performing Ultimate Warrior, the experiences that I had in that unique industry, in that competitive environment, in those shark-infested waters. I mean, there's no more shark-infested waters than the waters of the industry of professional wrestling. The backstabbers, the two-faced people, the two-faced fucks, the ones that will do everything or want to do anything they can to make sure that you don't keep your spot in the business because there are only very few spots. The old-timers didn't like the young guys with the bodies and the physiques and the gimmicks and the colorful characters that were created, the guys with the charisma. They didn't like that so much. They were offended by that. And they did things to really try to get you out of the fucking business one way or another. Even in the ring, when you go to the ring with another fellow wrestler, you open up your body to them. You let them use it. You trust them that they're not going to hurt you in a way that's going to fuck you up permanently. Well, back then, those guys, they knew how to fuck people up permanently. Everybody, if you followed wrestling for years, you know about those wrestlers or hear the stories, the guys that were the shooters, the guys that could really fuck you up. And those guys were in the business and they didn't like it, that young guys were up and coming, that Vince McMahon was changing the business into sports entertainment. They didn't like that. So participating in all that, coming from my background, growing up in a town of 600 people, in the rural areas of the Midwest, growing up on farms, working on farms in the country, spending all day outside, using my imagination to have fun and make the days pass when I was young, out in the woods with my buddies and stuff, hunting, fishing, swimming, those type of things, that's the background that I came from. And being in the business of sports entertainment and having those experiences with the other guys, rising up, setting the goals I had for myself to succeed in the business, the success experiences I had. I mean, how many times you hear successful people tell you that success isn't really what you think it is? When you have more money, you just have bigger problems. Your problems don't fucking go away, they just get bigger. I didn't know any of that. My family never had any wealth. We never went without anything, but I never had that experience. So having those experiences in the business, making money, being able to have things, write a check for a house, get in the mood to go buy a car or motorcycle, write a fucking check for it, just take the money out of your wallet and pay for it. Those were all unique experiences for me in my life. And everybody knows different stories about my life and my career and why I had fallouts in the business with Vince and why I left, why I came and went and things. And but creating and performing Ultimate Warrior and having those experiences made me who I am today. And I never would have been able to become the man that I am today if it wasn't for having those experiences. And it's because you supported me in my success that I was able to do that. And I want to talk about those experiences and what they taught me. One of the things that affected me the most in my life after I left wrestling and left the business, a lot of people, when you look at my career and you think about it and you were young, or let's say you were coming into your teens or your 20s, starting college, you're starting to think for yourself, you understand things a little bit better, you're not just 7 or 8 years old. So you start thinking like a young adult and you think, why would Warrior leave the business? I mean, here he is, he's, has the potential to be the fucking guy for all time. I mean, Ultimate Warrior could have just continued to be that if he would have stayed in the business. Why would he decide to leave the business? And then what's more confusing to people is that once they find out why, they get the background on the stories and stuff about why I left, then they go, how? How were you able to? I get this from a lot of adults all the time. How were you able to? Like it was impossible for me, since I'd already become a success as a professional wrestler, that I couldn't do anything else. A lot of people believe that. A lot of people in this room right now believe that. You believe that. You believe you have your job, you pay your bills, you get your paycheck, you have your security in that regard. But you're afraid to do anything else in your life because you said, well, I can't. How can I? I'm a carpenter, I'm a tradesman, I work in the corporate world. I have a UPS job. I got my good benefits. I make my decent amount of money. I got my kids, I got my wife, I got my bills I got to pay. I got my overhead. How? And I never understood how people could ask me how. Because the answer to how is real, it's real fucking easy. Because you're a human being and you have your mind and there's nothing you can't fucking learn. Not one thing you can't learn. Nothing. When I took up weight training, I stumbled and I grew up, like I say, in the country. And I got into a lot of juvenile trouble. Nothing serious. I mean, the stuff you can get into trouble with today, kids, is serious shit. It can have devastating consequences to the rest of your life. The openness with sexuality when you're young and all that stuff. I mean, when I was growing up, you couldn't even get a kiss. You know, you didn't have to worry about any of the stuff, you know, that somebody, you know, a girl saying, well, I don't think oral sex is sex. Like it is today. You like that, huh? Yeah. But the more serious stuff that kids can get into today that can really, you know, when I was growing up, you could run around all day long and your parents knew you were going to be home at night to have dinner. Now, anybody that's got kids, you can't. How many of you in here have children? Quite a few of you. You can't let your kids just run around the neighborhood anymore all day long because you're afraid they might not come home at night. So, all those different experiences when I was growing up at those times, it was really interesting and shocking to me to be in the business and see how people operated. But I remember when I was in high school, I remembered back when I was at these moral crossroads in my wrestling career, and I had to make decisions. You're not supposed to be unhappy in your life. You're not supposed to do unhappy things in your life. So even though I was a superstar to the world as a professional wrestler, I never forgot that when I was in 11th grade, after about a year and a half of working out with weights, I've told this story before, many of you know it. I stumbled into the weight room we had at our school. It was an 8x10 room and it had a universal weight training machine in there. Basically just a circuit that the football coaches or the coaches, other athletic coaches, ran the athletes around. That's how they did the training back then. I mean, weight training and fitness like it is today wasn't acceptable. My first year of college, there was a guy there. His name was Mr. Jones. Actually, he was Dr. Jones. He had a PhD in exercise physiology. He was a full-time farmer and a part-time professor. And he taught the first weightlifting class that there ever was at Indiana State University when I was there. But he was seen as a heretic by everybody else at the school because at the time, coaches didn't let their athletes work out with weights and stuff because they thought it screwed up their natural athletic ability. But this guy, he could, at 70 years old, he could walk over and pick up the back end of a tractor. I mean, that's how strong this guy was. And at our high school, we had this small weight room with a universal machine. I stumbled in there. I got in there, I started working out. I was a skinny fucking run of a kid, scared of my own shadow. And I started gaining weight really quick. And when I started gaining weight and putting size on my body, I thought to myself, well, I can change my life in other ways. And one of those ways that I thought I could better and change my life was I could get education. That I could further my education, go to college. Not something I ever thought about. Not something that was ever taught to me by my mom, who was raising me and my 4 brothers and sisters. Not somebody in our family ever did. So I scheduled an appointment with the high school counselor. And I went in and told her what I would like to do. 15 seconds after I started telling her what I wanted to do, how I wanted to get the classes I needed in high school so I could have a better chance of getting into college, she put her hand up to my face about 10 inches away from it, and she said, "Put that silly stuff away. Put that silly stuff away, and let me tell you what you need to do. This summer, you need to get a job at the factory." People either farmed or they worked at local factories where I grew up in Indiana. She said, "Get a job at the factory, do a good job, come back and finish your senior year, and when you graduate, you should be able to get a full-time job. Now, what else can I help you with?" I didn't have any courage whatsoever. I mean, my mom was a great woman, and she raised us in a loving, caring family. I don't have any fucking horror stories like some people do about how they were raised or treated by their parents. But she thought that you were born with your lot in life and you should just accept it. Not ask for any more. Just suck it up and take what is basically written in stone for you already. So there was never any encouragement about that you can do great things in your life. You can have big dreams if you will work hard. And the ironic thing is, my mom was a fucking hard worker. To keep from going on welfare and stuff like that, she worked 16-hour days, worked swing shifts and everything else to provide for me and my brothers and sisters after my dad split, and never looked back to provide any kind of support, financial or otherwise. She did what it took to keep things happening for us, so we never went without. So I didn't have any confidence to say to this counselor, "Hold on, you stupid bitch. You know, how can you say that to me?" But I left there and I said it in the privacy of my own mind. Skinny little ass kid in the hallway pounding my own chest, you know, looking over my shoulder. I was already doing Ultimate Warrior then. But I remember thinking something, and it's something that I always go back to every time I face challenges in my life, even today. I mean, when I say that to you, you think, Warrior faces challenges today? If you think successful people are not challenged in their lives, your ideas are fucked. Everybody is a human being and has to deal with the same fucking bag of rules that the world operates by. The good and the bad, the positive and negative. There's no way you can buy your way out of that. The best you can do is learn how to handle it the most effectively. But I remember thinking when I left there, I thought, how can she say that to me? Because, and this is what went through my mind. I said, how can she say that to me when nobody ever stopped me ever? Nobody ever stopped me ever when I went to enter a classroom. There was never anybody at the beginning of a school year at the classroom door to stop me and say, hold on a second, we need to check and see if you're capable of even learning what's in here. If you're one of those human beings that's capable. Anybody ever do that to you in your schooling? No. You sign up for the classes, you go to the room, and they automatically assume because you're a human being that you can learn what they're going to teach. Everybody learns things in a different way. Some people learn it in an easy way. Some people have to study and try harder to learn the material. But nobody ever points out human beings or picks human beings out and says, you're not able to learn anything. That's the first mistake people make. But people, like I say, people ask me all the time, how? How what? If I want to build a fucking rocket, the knowledge has already been written on it. You got to sit down and you got to do the work and you got to learn the knowledge and you can do it. I never forgot that in my life. And that's what has inspired me to learn new things, do new things, always be confident enough to go on and do other things in my life. If it means sticking with some things means I got to compromise my freaking integrity. So when people ask me, or if you're sitting in this room and you're thinking, there's just no way I could go on and do something else, the first thing you have to realize is that simply because you're a human being, you're capable of learning anything. Anything. But you don't learn it through osmosis. It doesn't just fall from the sky and land in your mind and become usable knowledge. You have to do the work. How many of you in here are doing work? Making a way for yourself, providing a livelihood for yourself where you actually wake up every day and you love doing what you're doing. How many people, how many of you are doing that? Every day is an absolute joy to do what you're doing. You can't wait to get up and get back at it. Raise the hands again. How many people don't love what they're doing? You don't. You don't. But you make yourself believe that you do. Because if you don't do that in some way, then everything becomes intolerable. You'll go out of your fucking mind. A lot of you, when you were kids, this is the greatest thing you gave to me as fans of my career. When you were kids and you were running around wild and acting like Ultimate Warrior and tearing up the house, and your mom and dad were going, what is this kid doing? He's got problems. But they thought it was fun. They thought it was fun. They thought it was great that you were caught up in something that was positive and inspiring, that you talked about being a hero in your life, that you could live a heroic life. You talked about that you had a destiny to fulfill, like Ultimate Warrior used to talk about. That your life mattered. It was going to be great. You were going to do great things in your life. You didn't have all the details worked out, but man, you believed it more than anything in the world. I was an adult. When I wrestled Hogan, I was 30 years old, 29. I was making more money than most people I met as I traveled up and down the road and sat in first class than they had ever made. I was living my dream, living a dream of being successful in the business. And you, after 4, 5, or 6 years later, you started to enter your early teens, started to become an adult, and all the other adults around you, this thing about having a fantasy that you were going to live a great life, that you were going to be a creator, that you were going to do something imaginative, you're going to do something different, one of a kind than anybody else. All of a sudden that became a pain in the ass to people. It wasn't cool anymore to be fucking wild and an extrovert and to be creative and spend more time doing that stuff than fucking buckling down, think about how you're going to get out into the real world, make a real life work, buy a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath house, have 2.75 kids, all the formulaic stuff that comes with the typical boring generic life. That's what you needed to do. All these dreams you had about living a heroic life, going out there and doing something one of a kind, being creative, loving what you did, all the adults and people around you that influenced you in your life, for the most part, even though they loved you and they had good intentions, they started making you believe that that was just bullshit. There's no way you can live your life that way. The school system does the same thing to you, to young people, as they go through it. By the end, it makes you capable to go out and get a job, learn a skill on the production line so that you can work on the production line to then spend your money on the shit that you made. If you want to do that, that's fine. You can still have a good quality of life. But if you wake up every day or you think a lot that you're unhappy in doing what you're doing, certainly there's something more to life, then you got to think seriously about that, about why you keep hearing that voice inside yourself. I mean, not everybody's hand went up when I asked who's doing work in their life that they're passionate about, that they're happy about, that they find joy in and love for, and they get something exciting back from. How many of you in here, let me ask you this, how many of you in here like to read or hear stories about great people, inspiring people's lives? Why is it those people have lives that are considered worthy of being great enough to have their stories told? What is it that they do as a group? How could you put it in a word? I don't mean specifically what they create or bring into the world. I don't mean, for example, like Henry Ford. He made cars. That's what makes his story great, because he was a great creator and he created cars and he built cars and everybody needs a car. I don't mean something specifically. What can you say about people who have lived great lives that they make movies out of, they tell their stories about, that when you read them, you're inspired. You're inspired to want to go out and do something unique on your own. What is it that they all did as a group? Does anyone take...
They had self-confidence in themselves. They believed in themselves, and they knew they can do it.
That's one answer?
They overcome. Something that lasted forever. Made impact. 3 pounds. Never quit.
Passion.
They had a story to tell.
What's that?
They had a story to tell. They wanted to tell their own story.
Sacrifice.
Those are all secondary answers. The thing that you can say that they all did, they did something original. They did something original. What's original mean?
Something that no one else has done.
There you go. Something never done before. Something unlike anything else. Whatever their story is, even if they didn't build anything and bring it into the world as a product, if they're a great warrior, a great statesman, a great leader of some kind, they were a fucking original. They were an original. Everybody, how many of you believe that you're one of a kind and that you're original, that you have something inside of you one of a kind and original that you could bring into the world? Let me ask this then. How many of you are bold enough to say that you have genius inside of you? That you are a genius. That you are a genius. Not the same number of hands went up as when I ask if you think you're one of a kind or original. Being original means that you trust that you are a genius, that you have genius inside of you. Genius is something that the Romans and the Greeks used to describe this animating spirit inside of you. This creative soul thing that you have in you that speaks to you like it speaks to everybody else. About that you're not doing in your life what you should be doing. That you're blowing your time here. That you're not doing. When I say that, I see looks on faces like, okay, so what's the big fucking deal? It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. If it never bothers you. But this is what I know, it bothers every fucking body. It doesn't not bother people that they're not doing what they hear their inner voice telling them they should do. They should be a writer, they should be an author, they should go live in some third world country, they should be an explorer, they should do this, they should do that, they should engage the hobby of photography and turn it into a passion and make it a career. Everybody has that inside of them. And you can't do anything original if you don't believe that you have genius inside of you. That you are. Every kid, if I could go back and I could talk to your parents when you were kids, every one of your parents would remember that you said things as kids that blew their mind. You said things that were profound to them. And they didn't have any response. They sat there and thought, where in the hell did that piece of wisdom come from? How can my 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old first, second grader, how can that my child of that day and age be that wise about something? Well, how can they grasp something so profound? Because when we're young, we all do. When you were young, you all fell in love with Ultimate Warrior because Ultimate Warrior represented that whole bigger than life on this planet thing. You believed in it. You believed in all that. And what you taught me, because I made money from engaging my creative spirit, my genius on the inside, as an adult, that I had no question about that. That's what I needed to do in my life. You supported and deepened my belief in that. So that I realized it's not fucking crazy. Ultimate Warrior in a vacuum, the whole thing it's fucking nutty. It's crazy. But here I was, a 30-year-old kid making more money than other people who are working typical fucking regular jobs, even if they're successful. Your support behind Ultimate Warrior allowed me to have experience while at the same time deepen my belief that I needed to follow my gut instincts. All the things you guys loved about Ultimate Warrior character, everybody, all the veterans that didn't like the changes that were taking place in the business, they would line up 3 to 5 at a time. Every night when I first started, when I came back through the curtain after my match, they would start telling me how fucking worthless it was that I ran to the ring. How worthless it was that I shook the ropes. How worthless it was that I did the hand thing about getting the power from the fans. How worthless it was that I invested in my costumes, became more colorful and stuff like that. How the more I became like a comic book character, how I became more horrible. And I was sealing my own fate that I would never succeed in the business. And I was a young guy who didn't have a spot, didn't have any power. All I had was my bag of gear and my head filled with doubts and fears like every other freaking human being. And I would shake my head, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. And when I'd go back out to that ring the next night, I just couldn't help myself. My gut instincts, that genius inside of me, would start speaking to me. And I'd hear the fans react to what I was doing. And my gut instincts, that voice inside would say, fuck them. Fuck them. They're not right. You're right. Genius is trusting your own thoughts. And that's all I've ever done in my life since those times. In everything I've ever done. And the quality of my life could not be fucking greater. people automatically think, well, he's not in the business, he doesn't have famous celebrity, he doesn't make the same amount of money, which I don't. They think, fuck, the quality of his life must be less. It's never been fucking greater. All I do is follow my own thoughts and my own ideas. I don't reject them. And if you spent years doing that, you're killing them out. They're still there, but they're way down there. And they're not screaming anymore, they're squeaking at you. They're not a powerful voice anymore. You need to find a way in your life. If you have that in you, if you have a voice inside of you that says, I don't like what I'm doing. I'm not happy with my life. I'm not happy with what's going on. I want something more exciting out of my life. You have to find a way to do that. You have to find a way to make time to hear those things, to pay attention to those things, to stimulate them, to use them. The biggest mistake people make when they want to do that and they have a desire, people write me all the time, they have a desire to want to make change in their life. Take exercise, for example. They want to. But they're not willing to take small steps to start. All they have is a picture of the finished product. So when I decided that I wanted to get in front of you and talk to you about these things, I mean, first of all, you get to see me. Things have changed, certainly. Things that are out of my control. So you come and you want to hear from me. Things that you can take and use to go a different way in your life. Live a better quality of life. Get something more back out of life than just fucking waking up and going to sleep every day. And it starts with you believing that you came here to do that. Your fingerprint makes you different than the other 6 billion people on this planet. Nobody is like you. Nobody's ever been like you. When you're gone, nobody's ever going to come that's like you. I mean, my 2 daughters, 11 and 9, I can't believe they come from the same mommy and daddy because they're so different in so many ways. That fucking says something to me. How they think, how they view things about the world already, what they think about themselves. It's not for nothing. Sadly, we have it robbed from us. And we don't fight back because we don't know anything about fighting back. But there comes a point in time in your life where you've got to realize you have the power to fight back because you're a fucking full-grown adult. And you have the power of your mind. Just like you make choices about everything else. And you have to start making decisions. You just can't fantasize about being in better shape, having a healthier quality of life, providing a better existence, a better life for your family and your loved ones, having greater security in the bank, having a bigger house. I mean, all that stuff. Most people who have never had anything, really, they think, man, if I just had all that stuff, I'd be happy. How many people think that if I had some things, I'd be probably a little happier? Nobody in here thinks that? Fucking egg, raise your hand. You don't? You never do? You never think, I'd like to fucking have that, I'd be a little happier right now. Fucking egg, it's true. It's true for everybody. If you don't fucking face what is true, you can't fucking change anything. But if you think owning things makes people happy, go read the fucking entertainment magazines. You see a bunch of happy people?
No way.
The people that have the most are the most miserable. But I can't convince people who have never had anything. I can't convince them to believe that. But what I can say to you is you have everything it takes to go find out for yourself. You should find out as quick as you fucking can so you can become wiser as quick as you can to know that that shit has no value whatsoever. No value whatsoever. Don't look at the end goal as being the thing that's going to be the orgasm for you, that's going to be satisfying and fulfilling. When I had my match against Hulk Hogan in 1990, if you got to experience that or you were thinking that, you think, wow, man, I would party till like it was fucking 1999. I went out to dinner with the travel agent guy who'd been taking care of me while I'd been going up and down the road. Made sure my back was covered while I was traveling up and down the road at 60 or 70 days at a clip. Different cities every day. Millions of frequent flyer miles. When I had my match with Hulk Hogan, it was almost anticlimactic. I thought, okay, it's a goal I set for myself. I've achieved it. What next? It is the journey, the work that you do towards your goals that will always be more fulfilling than finally reaching them. You will never get the same pop once you reach a goal as you do along the way with the challenges. How many of you don't enjoy being faced with challenges, things that are hard to do? How many of you find yourselves putting that stuff off, trying to avoid it as long as you can, try to get out from doing it as long as you can? How many people in this room? You're looking at things the wrong way. Instead of trying to find an easy, comfortable way to do the things that are hard and need to be hard to be done right to begin with, learn to love. Right now, learn to love hard stuff in your life. Don't want things easy. Build up your integrity in a way where you enjoy doing hard things. That you're not always looking for the easy way out in your life. When I look at your faces, a lot of times, because we've grown for a number of years, I see a bunch of little kids' faces sometimes. Because you talk to me about that when you come and I sign your autographs and stuff like that when I do these signings. And it makes me think about the times together and what we were learning at the time, what I was learning while I was doing what I was doing, and what you were doing in your life as little kids, and what you believed at the time. I mean, it's not just once in a while that people tell me what they felt or got out of Ultimate Warrior when they were a kid. There's something that happens in their eye when they're telling me the story. There's a sparkle, there's a twinkle about how great those times were and how much they believed in themselves and their lives and what they were going to do. And I want so much for you to do that in your lives. I want you to live the life that you came here to live. To be you, not be anybody else. All of us spend too much time looking to other people for our ideas and opinions and our ways about life when every answer that you need is already in you. And when I say that, you look at me, well, not every answer's in me. I got to get some answers someplace, don't I? I got to fucking ask somebody for some answers. Somebody's got to give me some answers. And what I have to say to you, if you want to know how I think about life, how I go about my life, how I go about my daily life is, no, you don't need to ask others for fucking answers. They're there in you if you will ask yourself. You will always have a sense of not being fulfilled in your life if you're doing something that you different than what you know you should be doing or what you dream of doing. And that's not a good thing. You can go through your whole life and do that. Nobody will really care. But it will be at the forefront of your mind all the time. The best way to enliven that voice inside of you that's died down in you is through exercise. When you push yourself to your limits physically, you exert yourself, your heart, your other organs, you pump the body through your veins and your arteries. You come to life in a way that you are more confident about following your own lead, thinking things out for yourself. How many people in here work out and exercise on a regular basis? When you exercise, don't you feel bigger about yourself? You feel more powerful, like you're more in control of your life? It's what I always go back to. That's why I'm still so intense, although so many things have changed about my physical abilities. It's why I still am intense and disciplined about my exercise and my body. Because it's like my battery. I can always go back to get recharged and stay on track with what I need to do in my life. What do you think I'm thinking? You think I'm standing here right now, and in this silence, you think I'm feeling uncomfortable that I'm silent? What do you think I'm thinking? Shout it out! What the fuck? What the fuck? You were Ultimate Warrior fans, and you can't just fucking say something? What the fuck? Do you think I'm going to fucking beat you up? Do you think I'm going to berate you because you're a piece of shit? Have I done that to any fucking body? What have I done? What does every other celebrity do? Every other fucking superstar. They stand on their pedestal and they piss on you. Do I piss on you? No, I say, fuck you. I don't want you to be me. You have in you an Ultimate Warrior that's greater than the fucking one I did. Ultimate Warrior was a piece of shit compared to what you can do. I mean that. It's not a fucking gimmick. It's not a gimmick. And I asked you to fucking provide a response about something, to be engaging. I mean, if you came just to hear and not to listen, or listen and hear, whichever way you need to switch those around to make sense, then you're just wasting your fucking time, like you've been wasting your time in your life. I don't know why anybody would want to do that. What do you think I'm thinking when I stand up here in front of you and I don't say a word?
Soak it in. You realize how awesome it is.
Wondering if we're understanding what you're saying. If we're really grasping the idea.
Do we get it?
Who's gonna do the work?
Who's actually listening? That everyone is one of a kind. Everybody, no one's the same. You gotta do what you gotta do. Keep moving forward, no matter what.
Wherever you go in your life, wherever you end up, you got there. You drove yourself there by your own choices. You can't put it off on anybody else anymore. You're fat and you're out of shape. You're unhealthy. It's yours. Nobody else owns it. You own it. You own it. Too many people, even a bunch of people in this room, want to be rescued. They want somebody to come in and save the fucking day. Nobody's going to save your day. And when you die, they will say, yeah, he had a life. Does it really matter that he ever fucking lived? That hurts me because I think about what you gave to me, what you made me understand in my life. When I was afraid to say no to the way I was being treated, to walk away from the business, to walk away from the money, you made me believe that. You gave me the confidence to do that. Because I followed my voice to make Ultimate Warrior work, and you supported it. And I knew that if I didn't continue to do that, my life would be shit. When they said if I left, I would be shit, I knew that if I didn't leave and do my thing that my gut instincts were telling me to do, then my life would be shit. As the years go by, what's the old, anybody in their 50s? 40s? As the years go by, you will recognize that all the experiences you've had in your life, you just keep carrying them forward. They're baggage. You keep taking them with you. All the fears you don't face, all the regrets you have, all the wrong moral decisions you make, hurt other people, hurt yourself, lessen the quality of your life. You just keep carrying those forward. You can't get rid of them, man. They're never going away. It doesn't matter. Nobody's got to remind you. They play on the inside of your skull, on the inside of your skull like a fucking movie. And it comes on when it wants. All the shit you hate most. When I think about my life, I don't think about the things that I've done that are considered great by other people. I think about all the fucking time I wasted in my life. That I blew. That I can't ever get back. That's what I think about. If you're young, you need to sit down and have a talk with yourself and get serious about that. There's no secret you need to have. There's no special potion you can buy or find someplace on some exotic island that's going to give you the superpowers to have a great life. Everything you need is inside of you already. If you're happy, you're happy. Most people aren't, they're not happy. even if they're considered successful by everybody else's standards. And it's because you're not being true to yourself. You're living a lie. You can do better than that. You can do better than that. And I always think positive for you. I don't use words like hope and wish and luck. They're bullshit. Every once in a while, you just can't use any other word. But I don't believe in them. That's why I say to you when I start my videos and stuff, I'm thinking positive, that everything is going great in your life. I'm thinking positive that everything is going great in your life. I so much appreciate the life I have and have as a direct result of how you supported me in my life. I am the man I am today because of having had my Ultimate Warrior career. Doing that gimmick, creating and performing him, made me come to realize I am this man warrior. That's not a gimmick. And everybody in here, I've never met a human being my whole life, wherever I traveled, that didn't have the potential to live a great and successful life and do anything they wanted to do. But I've met a lot of people who choose not to. They wake up every day and they choose not to. So I will just end by saying that I'm thinking positive, that you won't do that. That you will think about something that I said to you. That makes you make change about your life if you don't like what you're doing. That you are unique. You are one of a kind. You do have a destiny in your life that you came to fulfill. It's not just about having a job and paying the bills and buying shit you don't need. It's about something more than that. You're attracted to what I'm saying and doing, my life, for some reason. That's my life. That's what I do. That's what I am. That's how I operate my life. That's what I go by in my life. It's listening to myself and being me, not being anybody else. Don't try to be anybody else. Many of you, maybe not many of you in here, but many people in the line tonight, they come up and they say, I can't find the words to express myself. They'll say a few things. So I just want to say thank you. I say, you just did. You just found the words. Don't try to be anything more than you are at any given time. Just be you. It will all come if you just encourage it that way. If you just start that way. It doesn't happen overnight. It's like getting back in shape. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. You got to be persistent. But it will come in time if you do that. That is my legal name. It has been since 1993. Next year it will be 20 years. So on my passport and my driver's license, one name. Not Warrior, like the idiots want to make fun of or say. Not Jim Warrior, not Jim Hellwig Warrior, not Brian Hellwig Warrior. It's Warrior, just Warrior. And it's the name, the surname, the last name that my kids and my wife have. And it means something about my life and the way that I've chosen to live my life with integrity and to always strive to be the best I can be mentally, physically, and spiritually. And when I say spiritually, I don't mean organized religion. I don't mean going to a church. I mean belief in something bigger than this frickin' life. I mean, the biggest fear most people have is that they're going to die and they're going to end up in a burning hell. So everybody thinks about their mortality or dying or feeling guilty for who they are or the urges that they have that come out of their human nature. Everybody's looking for an answer to relieve them of the pressure of all that stuff. You know, if I mistreat somebody bad or I make the wrong decision, even if it's unintentional, am I going to pay a fucking price? Most people live their whole life paying a price, thinking that they're going to get to live when they die. So I don't mean when I say spiritually or about your soul, I don't mean that. I mean, how many of you have ever been, not to get sidetracked, but how many of you have ever been to a funeral where you have a few minutes to be close to the body laying in the casket and you get a chance to really look at it? The thing that made them them is gone. I remember when Kerry Von Erich killed himself. They didn't let anybody see the body except his family and me. And he was in a room all by himself, a big room about this size. So I go over there and I'm alone in the room. It's absolute total silence. And I had never, except when I was young, 7 or 8 years old, and my grandfather died, I'd never been to any funerals. I've been fortunate enough not to have to go to a lot of funerals. And Owens, I went to Owens' funeral. But Kerry was a unique person. He had a charisma that was just incredible, that came off of him, just oozed out of him. But in the casket, that thing that made him Kerry, it was just so clear, so evident that the thing that made him Kerry is what died. All his physical characteristics people would point to and say, that's Kerry Von Erich. They weren't him. It was his soul. That was him. And that's what I mean when I talk about spirituality. I don't mean religion. I think if you follow me long enough, you know where I'm coming from in that regard. But my life, taking the name warrior, is about fulfilling my potential every single day in all three of those areas, physically, mentally, and spiritually. They're all connected. And when you become more powerful and strong in one, you automatically, increase the strength of the others. You can't just work on one at one time. In other words, you can't just work on your mind and never do anything with your body. You're this being, and you're a being that demands certain challenges be put on it. To use your body, to get out there and push it, to make your heart pump, to get the blood flowing. Your learning is just not from the time you go to kindergarten and get out of high school or go to college. It's supposed to happen throughout your life. You're supposed to do that, to be a more complete person, to work on fulfilling your potential in life. And it reminds me that I have a responsibility to do that by having the name warrior. People used to, from years ago, and a lot of times, if you go out, movies, great movies, like Braveheart, Gladiator, those type of movies, especially for guys, there's a connection there when you watch those movies. You feel empowered. You want to live a life like that. You want to imagine that you're William Wallace and you're laying there, you're having your guts ripped out of you, your intestines, and you're still alive. But you have the strength to when you have a chance to talk, you yell out for freedom. That kind of stuff inspires you for a reason. Because you have a life and you're supposed to make the most out of it. Push yourself the hardest that you can in all those areas. So that you've given everything that you have by the time your life comes to an end. Warrior reminds me of that. It reminds me that honesty, there's nothing more important than being honest. Honesty. Having integrity. Not compromising those things. It would not really matter to anybody if I compromised. I mean, I'm not going to take so much shit that it's going to affect my life. Neither will you, but it will matter to you every day. Every day. You can remember a time, all you guys, when you were young and you feared the bully that was picking on you so much that you continued just to run and fucking hide. That shit still bothers you today. You would have been much better off standing there and taking the shots. And when you do that in your life and you run away from things, that's the price you pay. You carry those weaknesses around with you forever. They never go away. And the older you get, you just become weaker and weaker and weaker. I could give you so many practical pieces of advice. You can get so much out of yourself than you think you can. You're working a full-time job, you want to do something else, you have a dream, you don't have the time, that's bullshit. It's bullshit you don't have time. You don't need fucking 8 hours sleep a night. If you want something bad enough, you will find the time. There are so many ways, practical ways, to make things happen for you in your life that you really want to do. Even if you're stuck in a situation where you're married, you got kids, you got an incredible overhead, you got the house payment, you got the car payment, you got all the other bills. But you're constantly thinking, man, I'm just so burnt out on what I'm doing. I'd really like to do something else. Visualization is important to achieving your goals in life. You can't, everybody probably knows about The Secret, the movie or the thing that came out about believing in something, you know, long enough and deep enough that it's going to come into realization. That works to a point. What they left out is that you got to do the work. They didn't talk about that much. There's a couple segments in there you got to do the work. But you can't constantly. How many people believe in karma? It's an energy. You believe in an energy that sort of you can't see, that sort of works in the world in mysterious ways. It assists people that are good people, and it gets back at people that are bad people, and you know, you need to be cautious of how you behave in the world and stuff like that. Well, almost everybody's hand went up when I said, who believes in karma? Isn't that, that's like a funky fucking hippie thing, isn't it? Because when I say that, because when I ask you if you believe in destiny, you all shit can that. You won't go that far. You won't go so far to say that you have a destiny, but you'll believe in karma. Yeah, because karma's cool, man. It's a hip thing. Everybody talks about fucking karma. It's like a chocolate bar. You know, but you won't go so far to believe that you have a destiny in your life. That's going too far. That's too fucking parts unknown for you.
Well, what if the destiny is locked in a bad way? Like you think you got a bad destiny. Some people's concept of destiny is
A faded one.
yeah, like you don't got no choice over what's going to happen.
Like it's written in stone. That's not what I mean by destiny. That's not. I don't believe you have a fated destiny. I believe you have the tools, and you're created in a unique way. You know, by your thumbprint, your DNA, your soul print is different from everybody else's. That you have a destiny in you to fulfill. But all the time you're at a crossroads. And you get to decide, you get to use this great thing you have, this great power, your free will, your power to choose which way to go in at the fork in the road. And it's a constant balancing between good and bad choices. But ultimately, you have a destiny further out throughout your life that you're supposed to fulfill in your life. You may not get there if you don't learn from the bad choices that you make. Do you understand? I don't believe in a fated destiny that you have. And my mom did. My mom was a fatalist. She believed that you were born into your lot in life and you just needed to accept it. Nothing else. You couldn't change anything. You know, I said, well, you know, how can you even, Mom, so that means we can't even change the TV station? That's fucking fated. That's written in stone too. I don't mean that. What I mean is that you're born with something unique inside of you that gives you the potential to fulfill a destiny in your life. But it's up to you to use these great powers that you have to make choices. And when you make the wrong choices, you learn from that and recorrect your course where you're going in life. I don't buy it that, I don't know how anybody buys that. Because that means that you don't believe that you don't have any choice whatsoever. A lot of people, they say they believe that, but they constantly bitch and moan about their lives. If you believe that your life is written in stone, there's no change. Why bitch and moan about any fucking thing? Just sit down and shut up. I mean, my life is nothing like what everybody tries so hard to make it out to be. That's interesting to me. And people write me all the time and they want to know things about how to get on a better track in their life. And I try to do the best I can to help people out, and I saw this as an opportunity to talk to you in my way. Instead of coming in here with 10 different points and saying, do this and do this and do this. This is your plan. This is your format. This is what you need to follow. Let me give you a template. This is how you change your life. There are all kinds of different ways, specific things you can do. But if you don't believe in yourself, I mean, always believe. You guys asked me to sign always believe. You asked me because it means something to you. It means something to you. It means something to all of us. I've been using it for over 20 years now. And it means that. It means believe in the power in yourself. That you have a destiny inside of yourself that you came here to fulfill. That your life matters. And it's not for nothing, man. You're not just supposed to be spinning your wheels. You're supposed to do something here in your life that's remarkable, that leaves a mark. And when I say that, when I say do something in your life that will live forever, I don't mean become like Churchill or Patton or other people that have lived those kind of lives. I mean, do something in your life that really leaves a mark, stands for something in and of itself, and impresses upon the people, your loved ones, your family, especially your kids, that your life matters. And you got a responsibility. It's not just about squandering your time while you're here and fucking off.